Welcome everybody to this session of Planet Reuse webinar. We have started this new, it's a bit of an experiment. We call it Ask an Expert. We have two great experts today. The topic of today is the challenges of cleaning and hygiene of reusable packaging. It's great to see people still coming in. Small reminder for everybody to keep their microphones on mute, which I believe is an automatic setting anyways. Introducing Planet Reuse, just very, very briefly for those who have not, beyond registering, seen us. We are a European platform and network for reusable packaging, trying to share this knowledge and experiences to speed up the transition from single use to reuse. And one of the tools we have is webinars. So it's a great opportunity, obviously, to have as many people from all over Europe and outside to share these learnings. Quick reminder, questions can be asked in the chat, and my colleague Diane and I will keep an eye out. It is possible to show your appreciation or question marks or other emotions, I would say, using the emoji, just to see, to make it very visible for us and for me as the moderator, to see if there's questions or appreciation and so forth. The chat will be monitored. Questions will be after the presentations of our two guests for today, and we have a Q&A for the second half of today's session. And that's the first. I'm not sure how warm it is where you guys are, but it's pretty warm here in the Netherlands at least, which is a good thing, I guess, but I need to keep my water nearby. So without further ado, I would like to kickstart today's session and invite the first presenter for today, which is Jan Patzer of Crafting Future, who will tell us a lot about the intricacies and the challenges of cleaning and hygiene in reusable packaging. But I think you can do a perfect job of introducing yourself, Jan. The floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Nice to see so many people gathering regarding the topic, reusable packaging and cleaning and hygiene. My name is Jan Patzer, one of the founders of Crafting Future. Just a quick introduction. What we actually do is we make sure that single-use waste disappears. With Crafting Future, we are creating the standard for reusable packaging for takeaway and to-go. Therefore, we develop and produce sustainable reusable packaging in the food ecosystem, tackling waste and the climate crisis. And because we develop and produce reusable packaging, hygiene and cleaning of reusables, of course, is like one of the very, very important topics we deal with every day, because only if we have like a cycle of the product that is healthy for people and the planet, it makes sense. So let's dive into the topic. And if you have any questions, as you know, just post them in the chat. We will talk about that later. When we think about cleaning reusables, actually we see that there are three really, really important things that we have to keep in mind to make it work. And the one thing is the dishwashing technology. Especially when we think about plastics, and this is our main focus and what we see in lots of reuse systems in the food ecosystem, it's plastics and it's not that easy to wash them properly. So the foundation for good results has to be adapted to the number of items to be cleaned in a specific time. I think Christian will talk about that from the Hobart perspective as well. Depending on the system, you have to choose the right dishwashing technology that make your reusables really clean, but you will hear about that later a little bit more in detail. The next thing is optimized products. You can have the best dishwashing technology, but if you have like a really bad product where all the water stays after the cleaning, or there is like parts of the food left in the products, maybe because there are some growths or something like that, it's very bad for you. So when we think about a product like this bowl, it's very important to have like a specific product design that helps that the water runs off the bottom if you clean it, or that you don't have the stacking, the part where the product stacks, it has the right angles and stuff like that. So you really have to look for the right product to make it work properly. And the third thing is you need a sophisticated process, because the best cleaning result is not sufficient if, for example, the contamination occurs during the transport, for example, of your reusable packaging. So when we think about cleaning reusables, we really have to take care about the whole process to make it work. Otherwise, there are like huge problems to deal with. So this is the three main things. And when we think about the right product and the right cleaning, it really depends on the intended use. It's different if you have like a business catering situation at your company, or if you have like a huge event, because the process of giving out and taking back the reusable might be different. The things you put in and stuff like that. So you really have to think about first, what is the kind of food or drinks you're offering? How many takeaway portions do you expect? And how do you solve the cleaning? So do you have any specific things already in place? And we have to put a big warning here is that when we talk about cleaning reusables, inefficient operating processes are a big problem. So for example, if you have a manual drying process, which means you have not the right dishwashing technology, and the stuff gets out very like wet, and you have people that needs to dry the product manually. On the one hand, it will be very expensive, and the second hand, it is a big hygiene risk. Yeah. So if you have people doing it, please keep in mind it's a dangerous thing to do. So this brings us back to the right technology again. And also, you have to take care about the return processes. Only if they're efficient and convenient, but also safe, it makes sense for you. So you should not only think in it in one way. Keep both perspectives on the table. One thing is the hygiene. What happens after you give back the reusable packaging? How many hours or days will it stay maybe in a bin or stuff like that? Is it, for example, if it's in, yesterday I was at a vending convention and you have this automated vending machines where you can give back your reusables, which is great. But is it, for example, is the reverse vending machine, is it also a cooler so that you can keep the reusable packaging maybe 2 days in it, or is it just a box? This is also very important for the hygiene. So depending, as said, you really have to take care about the intended use and think about the efficiency, but also on the hygiene level on how you operate your reusable system. And what we see is that maybe you should do some tests. Yeah, learning by doing is a very good thing to do. Start small. This is one example of our testings where we did an reverse logistics and cleaning pilot with our cooperation partner Recap, where we offered the reverse logistics with the spikes and the cleaning process, just to learn more about how to properly organize logistics, properly organize the cleaning and the reverse logistics to the stores. So maybe it makes sense also for your system to really do the process 100% on your own, just to learn about all the issues in the supply chain. And then afterwards, you can generate a scalable process. So this is what we really learn. And of course, where we check if the products as a product development and product production company works properly. Also, maybe after like a coffee is several days in this cup and it's getting dry and stuff like that, or food is maybe several days, rest of food is maybe several days in the bowl. What happens to the product? What can we do about it? That's very important for us at Crafting Future and how we develop products to make them work in a reusable system. So this is one thing that we really can recommend, is that you should test your stuff. And of course, if you want to introduce reusable packaging, please not only test your processes, but really test your products. What we see is that we need lots of improvement in this space. Don't just buy something from the shelf and say, okay, it somehow works. This will bring up severe problems probably. And everyone here do not want the big newspapers to have the headlines of big hygiene issues with reusable packaging. Should we go back to single use? We all want a sufficient process. So please also check your processes and check your products. If you use plastics, please check also your materials. What we found out working as Crafting Future is that if you choose the right, for example, plastic, you can increase the antimicrobial properties, for example, which can also help to support the cleaning process. So it's a complex thing. Talk to all the people on Planet Reuse, talk to your peers about that, talk to Hobart as a cleaning expert, and yeah, share your thoughts, because this is the only way. What we think is that we can really build a process that makes sense from an efficiency and sustainability point of view, but also from a hygiene point of view. So that's, yeah, what we would recommend. And yeah, this is our short input. Of course, you can ask questions now and maybe also later, like adding me on LinkedIn or chat at Planet Reuse. Thanks a lot. I will hand over to Christian.
Thank you, Jan. Let's indeed do the questions. We have a full half hour almost for that. So I would suggest put them in the chat when you have them now. And I would indeed give the floor to Christian Mertz of Hobart. Welcome, Christian. You can unmute yourself and switch to your presentation.
Perfect. Thank you, Marcel.
Floor is yours.
I can't share my screen because another
Jan
participant.
stop sharing.
No, perfect. Thank you, Jan. Let me first check if it works. Can you all see my screen? I guess yes, perfect. So hello everyone. My name is Christian Mertz from Hobart. I'm really happy to be here and to share my information about this really important topic, reusable in the to-go business. In my position as market manager and project manager for this reusable topic, I'm responsible for the future products to clean the reusable and especially to try it, because cleaning is really a big point here. But as Jan already mentioned, trying as well. Before I'm going to start, I just want to give you a short overview what I want to show you in the next 10 minutes. I want to give you a short overview or a short introduction in the law which exists since beginning this year in Germany. Then what are the challenges in the scullery, so in the kitchen? Then what concepts are in the market and what solutions are available to clean and try the reusable washware. I guess the most of you heard about this law, this mandatory law for reusable. It starts in Germany this year, and it says that all final distributors are obligated to offer their products not only in single use, also in reusable packaging. And when we talk about all final distributor, we're talking about gastronomy, delivery services. We talk about cinemas, big events like football games, festivals, canteens, bakery, butchery, food retail. So everywhere where companies sell to-go packaging filled with food or beverages. Yeah. With this law, there come a lot of a few challenges, especially in the scullery, because Hobart is producing dishwashing machines, and we had a look in the scullery, and one of the big issues we had in the scullery is especially the space in the scullery, as you see in the picture below. The problem is in a small kitchen you can't store the washwear, the reusable washwear on the table because you need this space. So you have to put it away. And when you put it away, you stack it on it. But you can't stack it into it when the washwear, the reusable, is not dry. So that's also a big challenge because plastic cannot store heat like, for example, porcelain or glass, and therefore has not the best drying effect as you see in the picture. And another topic is the weight of the reusable washwear. You see on the left corner. If you don't fix the washwear, for example, the cups, then they do not remain in a position filled with wash water and you have to wash it again. And what Jan already mentioned is different materials, different shapes. And this is especially that challenge to try it, because if you have different shapes and different edges, then the water remains there and it's difficult to try it 100%. That you that you avoid that manual cleaning. So in the market at the moment are two favorite cleaning concepts what we've seen. One of them on the left side is the centralized cleaning. When we talk about centralized cleaning, put a picture in the middle of this picture is football game, for example. When we are looking at a football game, there are a lot of people watching this game and drink out of reusable cups. And when they bring it back to the store, they collect them, transport to a centralized centralized cleaning center. In this center, there's a big machine that cleans and dry these cups or other reusable items, then afterwards storage and transport it to the next event. And another concept what we've seen here in the market is the decentralized cleaning. Decentralized cleaning means, for example, we are located close to Freiburg, and when I, for example, go to a coffee, order coffee in a reusable cup, take it away, and when I want to go to university, before and after it's empty, I go to the next bakery, for example, coffee, give it back, and then they are cleaning these cups again. And if the next customer come and order, for example, coffee in a reusable cup, then the cup turns the next round. So they cleaning at the store, for example, a bakery, coffee, or a smaller restaurant. Yeah, when we talk about reusable, then we talk about washing and drying solutions. And just to give you a short overview, because this to-go business is not only in a small coffee shop around the next corner, it's also in canteens, it's also in bigger restaurants and the football game as well. And here there are several solutions, from a small under-counter machine to a big machine which cleans more than 15,000 cups a day. And there are already solutions on the market with an integrated drying system that's really necessary to clean and dry that 100%. Just have a short video for you to show you the advantages of a perfect drying solution.
Hello and welcome to Hobart. My name is Philip.
And my name is Christian, and we are the warewash experts from Hobart.
Because we know how to handle washwear. Christian, my dishwasher is finished and I still have to unload it.
Oh. So you're still trying manually, I see.
What else? You know that plastic dries very badly on its own and is still wet after a long time when it comes out of the machine. That's why I have to manually dry it. Or do you have a better solution?
Sure I have, the Premax undercounter from Hobart.
And what is so special about a Premax machine?
The Premax has the unique active integrated drying top dry. I will show it to you.
Okay,
But before I start the machine, can you give me 2 of your bowls?
of course. And the second one.
Oh, still wet. Hey Philip, the machine is ready.
Oh,
Look, a complete dry bowl.
wow. And how does it work?
That's easy, you just have to know how to do it right. So that plastic can also be removed dry from the dishwasher, you need not only the right machine, as you can see here with the integrated drying, so the Premax, you also need the right chemistry, the special rinse aid for plastic from Hobart, the HLP 7000.
And is it also working with reusable cups?
Of course, that's also no problem with the special cup rack from Hobart. In this rack you can wash 25 cups at the same time, dry it and stack it afterwards. So let's compare the results of both machines and see what happened.
Good idea, let's do it.
Look, Philip, my cups come out of the machine dry. Stay hygienically clean because I don't have to dry them manually, and also save space because I can stack them straight away and I save time.
Wow, just like our slogan, work smart, not hard.
So as you see here, that was the topic. If you have a drying solution, you don't have to try it manually, and that's what Jan also mentioned. If the customer tried manually, then it's a hygienic issue, and so a drying function is definitely necessary. Just to keep in time, one topic is also bottles. Bottles, there are refillable bottles, glass, plastic, in different segments and increasingly used. Hotel, healthcare, catering, also gastronomy. So definitely become more and more used. And there's also large variety and many different designs, and also high narrow bottleneck, as you can see also in the picture. And if we have this, it's really critical to clean it with a conventional system. And so here also for bottles, there's also necessary to have a solution, just to see a special rack and a special rinsing system to clean it hygienically, safety. So thank you, Blend Reuse, to have this platform to present about this reusable topic. And if you have any question, please ask now, or if you have later questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian, for the clear presentation. And at the same time, we do see a number of questions in the chat, which is good because this is exactly what it is for. We have a Q&A. So welcome to anybody who has joined after we started. And welcome to this Ask an Expert session of Planet Reuse. I'm your host, Marcel, supported by our tech support, Diane, and together we'll be looking at the questions in the chat. So in the next roughly 30 minutes, we'll be diving into some of the intricacies around cleaning and hygiene, and there are a few questions. So without further ado, I will just dive into the first question that we have. I'll just read it out loud so that we know exactly what's being said. So the first question is actually from, just a second, I need to scroll up a little bit here. Simon Hinz from XPAC is asking the following to Jan. Is there a manual or automatic inspection process before deciding which cleaning process will be applied to the dirty reusable container? Or is there just one overall program?
Yeah, that's super interesting. It's also a topic we talking about internally, is that what we see is that whatever kind of cleaning solution you have, whether it's centralized or decentralized cleaning, the location where the cleaning happens is also the moment where you decide what happens with the reusable container. Should it be like put out the system? Should it be cleaned, or what kind of process is the right thing? And currently, what we see is it's a manual process. Sometimes you also have this counting. If you have the big players like Ramones or Into Zero, they also have a counting area where they check how many reusables they got for cleaning. But still, there's a manual inspection at the cleaning facility to really check what happens with the reusable container, and people have to sort it and stuff like that. That's what we see currently, but everyone, of course, is looking for an automatic inspection, and we think about cooperations with other companies, with, for example, automated cashless cash systems that might be used for inspecting reusables to see if they still can be used. But as far as I know, there's no really good automatic inspection in place. It's manual at the place where the cleaning happens.
Maybe just to add, that's also a future topic when we talk about automation, when we talk about cameras in machines, maybe that also scan the washware and then okay, it's too damaged, or it's that type of washware, it's that type of residues, and maybe that can also solve maybe in the future also the machine.
Yeah.
I guess one might say that there are plenty of vision inspection technologies in existing operations, but to integrate them, this requires some, not only capital perhaps investment, but also to see to what extent it needs to be modified and adopted to recognize non-clean containers, perhaps. I know the dishwasher in our home, it claims to have a smart sensing how dirty my plates are and etc. Not sure to what extent it's actually a sensor or not, but yes.
Yeah.
Great question. So following up on that, and quite related, of course, is a question from Natalia Malhanova to both of you. Looking at hygiene risks of reuse, should the focus be on specific packaging types which are more safe, for example, glass and metal versus plastic? Also, minimum washing requirement to kill any contaminants, for example, 70 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, it's a very good question, and probably, Christian, you can say a lot about that. Is we as Crafting Future, we develop and produce plastics packaging and no glass and metal packaging. And we thought about that topic a lot. And what we see from the market and our clients is that when it comes to glass and metal, on the one hand, there is this topic with sustainability when it comes to energy intensive production and stuff like that we hear sometimes. When it comes to glass, it's the breaking of the glass that's an issue in gastronomies, or also in the supply chains that people at least tell us it's an issue. And when it comes to the metal, the stainless steel stuff, it's the price that's mostly a problem to really scale that. That's what we hear. For example, if you have in normal deposit system, the deposit is so high that at least for like typical takeaway and day-to-day solutions, it's not working that properly. If you have a deposit-free reusable system, there might be more options to integrate high-priced packaging solutions. And what we also see is that the more expensive your reusable packaging is, you really need a very, very high return rate, because if a very pricey metal container gets lost after 5 cycles, it's very bad. So this is why lots of clients choose actually plastics as a good mix of like nearly non-breakable, cheap, functional, and stuff like that. But what we see is we really still have to look how to make it the most sustainable, like by product design, by choosing the right material production method, and also end of life. That's really nice about reusable systems, right? you use plastics and you really, even in a reusable system, you get it back.
Mhm.
You really can have a circular system, which in my point of view is the reason why plastics with reusables is awesome and single-use plastics is a bad thing. So we fight plastics with plastics, but I think it makes sense in this case. But when it comes to hygiene, of course, it would be easier to have glass and metal. But because of all the other reasons, lots of companies currently choose the plastics option, even though, of course, it would totally make sense to have, for example, a reusable system with metal and stuff like that. But you really have to design the system in a way that it will work. For example, Riba with their I'll call you the English word, the gastronorm containers, the gastronomy containers, and they have the system with the QR code and stuff like that. This is a stainless steel reusable system, and it works pretty well in their specific kind of usage. So that's what I meant in my presentation. You have to really keep in mind what's the kind of usage, and then you can choose the right material. It's not every time plastics. It can be different. Long answer, sorry.
Nothing to add, Jan. Perfect answer. Fully agree with you. Maybe the last point, the minimum washing requirement. Yes, there are special norms for cleaning, so for washing and rinsing, and we talk about here about 60 to 65 degree when we are talking about the washing phase, and the cleaning, the rinsing with fresh water is with 80 to 85 degree, and then we are hygienic safe, and you have the perfect temperatures.
Yeah, that's extremely important. If you just would put all the stuff in your eco mode at home at 50 degrees, there will be issues with hygiene. And even though when we have the professional gastronomy dishwashers, doesn't matter if it's small or big, they all have like this high temperature, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to the cleaning process, even though we have to really make sure if there are scratches in the product when you have a plastics, for example, food bowl, and people cut with a knife in it, it still can be in hygiene risk. So you really have to take care about what you're doing there. Not every bacteria will be killed 100%. You have to really keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm. So Marcel, we can't hear you.
There's two buttons actually that I need to press. Sorry, yeah, as I was going to say, thank you both for the extensive answer. And we have a bit of a follow-up in the chat from Beth Massa, whom I know knows quite a bit about reusables as well and cleaning of them. And it kind of follows on the logic and the reason why lots of companies choose for plastics as material for reusables. It brings its own challenges, right? So we looked at the temperature, which kind of determines some plastics might not be suitable. Think PET that can't handle high temperatures. But cleanability, particularly the example that Beth gave on lipstick, on packaging, for example. I would imagine, and looking at the smile on your face, Christian, that this is something that is not uncommon, at least for a large part of the population that would. I never thought about it, in all fairness, when I drink a beer from a bar in a glass jar or a glass that you do need to remove the lipstick, but I didn't never see them on a glass. On plastics, I could imagine it is more of a challenge.
It is also a challenge, also with glass, but we also had this question. It's a typical question on exhibitions. When we do live presentation, also with reusable or with glasses, then with our glass washer, then the question, how can you solve this lipstick problem? And we do this test also on the exhibition, and we had still good results. But what I can say, there's no general statement, because depends maybe also on the product, how water resistant it is, and but what you also have to see is the probability of using lipstick that is difficult to remove. So with a high water resistance, it's very small. We have these issues in some cases, but we solve this with the the wash power as well as the right chemistry. Yeah, but it's in my test what I've did was really good, no residues. But when, for example, at BES, if you maybe you can talk after that, then we can talk about this topic. Would be great too. Maybe it's a special lipstick what we have to test in our machines.
Yeah, I would imagine this is a general challenge for reusable cups and glasses at least. And as Beth indeed also said in the chat, she found that detergents and the rinse agents maybe play a more important role than the dishwash process or the machine itself. So you seem to be aligned there. Very relevant question again, and you know, in the light of trying to bring everybody to move forward on this topic and preventing, let's say, ammunition for those of us or out there that are not such a big fan of reusable packaging. You know, we need to work together to see how we can challenge and tackle this. But so great questions, keep them coming. And in that light, I do need to move on to some more questions if we want to make everybody happy today. So a question for Jan from Nicole Sering, who asks, Jan, you said that you can reduce the risk of hygienic problems by choosing the right plastic material. Could you elaborate on that and specify, please?
Yeah, what we see is that I am not an polymer engineer, but we have them in our team, and then since like more than a year, we are testing different types of plastics, especially polypropylene types, to see if they react differently, and also to see if we can change the material composition to add additives that will not harm the recycling process, but improve the properties regarding bacterial risk and stuff like that. And we came up, we tested several polypropylene types. It's our main plastic we use for reusables, and found out that there are possibilities. Of course, it costs a little bit more to have a specific compound mix that will help to kill the bacteria, actually. So we worked on that a lot, and it's kind of like nearly ready to market. And if anyone would have a deeper chat with me, just yeah, let's talk, because what we see is that we probably will need a good mix of an cleaning process with the right washing machines and detergents and stuff like that. But also, if you use plastics, we really have to talk about that a lot in the reuse community, what kind of plastic we use, and maybe also share what additives we might should add that are not harmful for our planet to really decrease the risk of these hygiene issues. Because I'm really afraid, as I said before, that this will throw us back a few years in the development of reusable systems if there will be some big hygiene issues in the near future. To say that without mentioning any company, what we here in Germany, especially in the business catering area, where they do lots of hygiene testing, and I thought a question in the chat already, how do you test a good hygiene cleaning, is in Germany it's called Abklatsch tests. It's a like kind of small paper, and you wipe it over the reusable, and then you put it into a specific case and it's heated, and you let the bacteria work, and you see if there is bacteria growing or not. There's this, I don't know if anyone knows the English word for Abklatsch test, but there is a test, and it's really common. And we see that plastic-based reusable systems in the business catering seem to have more and more issues with bacteria in this area. And this can be, of course, because of the wrong washing machines and stuff like that. But in the long run, when you eat from it and stuff like that, and there are scratches, there we see if you don't use the right or use just any plastic that's food safe, you might run into hygiene issues after like 30 or 40 cycles already, and you actually have to put it out of the system. because you cannot remove all the bacteria. So that's a huge issue, and we have to tackle it from several sides. And so it's a little bit complex, but in our point of view, you need the right material mixes actually, and let's have a deeper chat about that, how to put it into your products in the future.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, the English term is a swab test, where you swipe the surface, and it kind of comes back to your point being what happens after 30 or 40 cycles, particularly if you have a reusable plastic packaging where consumers might even use a knife and fork, like somebody asked a bit earlier in the chat about a doner being used, or a pizza in a reusable packaging. What happens when it starts being scratched? I can certainly imagine microbacteriological bacteriologically, it is more challenging to clean this. So this is an interesting topic, which, I guess as any sector that is fairly new, we are discovering how to tackle this as we move forward. So as in the chat, some fair remarks that not every solution is perfect. I'm pretty certain. Nonetheless, we do, from Planet Reuse, obviously set up this webinar to share learnings, not in any way pretending to have all the answers, nor being sure that we cover all solutions. So our approach really is to try and move everybody forward. And if there are any suggestions on other players, systems, solution providers that people should talk to, first of all, you can share them in the chat, but please also approach us. And thanks for the constructive approach and Dutch directness. Being Dutch, I can certainly relate. We're moving to a few more questions just to see. There's a question from Cheyenne on solutions for cleaning and drying reusable flat plastic or silicone pouches, which is a material we haven't touched upon, I think. Jan or Christian, any thoughts or experience?
Flat plastic or silicone pouches. It's good question. Keep it in mind, try to find it out. I do not have this experience, but maybe we have other experts in the company. We'll talk to them, and then maybe I will send the answer later on.
Regarding silicone, right?
Yeah.
It's really good for silicone, yeah. Okay, because I think when it comes to plastics, it depends on I don't know what's meant by flat plastic, like a
yeah, I guess
very thin, or
yeah. If a container lays flat in your dishwasher and water stays on top, it's the staining or the evaporation spots that I think.
I mean, maybe something that you presented, Christian, is kind of a solution, like your drying solution, and there's also other technologies from other companies like Myco that you lose a rattling inside or something like that to try to get the water off of like flat areas and stuff like that. There's different technologies, and that's what I can say to that point, but it's not my 100% profession. So
Yes, okay, then from that point, moving on with, thanks to Annika for sharing the questions that we see on Planet Reuse's platform on this topic. What kind of food safety tests can we do to ensure that the cleaning process was performed correctly? I think this links to the swab test, for example, that you mentioned, Jan. I'm not sure if there's any additional testing that we might identify beyond perhaps the more high technological option of I don't know, infrared scanning or vision inspection equipment. Any thoughts on that, Christian or Jan? Additional to what we've already said, otherwise.
Yeah, and I think what we already said, like, on the one hand, the optical check, and it's mostly done. Some I read in chat, some do it already automatically. It's awesome. Maybe we should talk later about it. Super interesting. But in the most cases, probably manual inspection, and also this swab test is like the standard. Also, because we have to keep in mind what is the market doing, like broadly. And I think maybe there's some specific companies that do something very specific, very detailed, but how will your clients maybe check if your hygiene level is good? And it will be probably optical check and swab test. But if you're like offering a centralized washing solution, of course, maybe you should think a step ahead, and happy to hear about that, how you solve that.
Yeah, I think this sharing of challenges is only helping us forward, I would say. And it's an interesting one that you mentioned. I think it was you, Jan, earlier, when you return a reused salad bowl, for example, and you put it into a collection bin. And I never thought about this until now. Is it or is it not refrigerated, this collection device? Because, you know, particularly with temperatures we have now, you can certainly imagine food product remaining there could lead to smells not only, but also insects and whatnot. So that's an interesting one.
Maybe I can share just so people can look it up, because yesterday at this vending convention, there, for example, there was the company Stüver. I can put the name in the chat, and they build vending machines, and they also build first like reverse vending machines, but for reusables. And they have, like, for example, they build like kind of big fridge, and there you have a simple like box, and you can open it and you can put the reusable in it. It has a QR code scanner, and if the QR code is accepted, it opens, and then you can drop the reusable container in it, and the whole thing is cool. So it's basically it's a simple technology, but it might help you to scale the adoption of reusables, because it's easy for people to understand. It has a cooling mechanism, and it's like nothing can break down easily. It's not too technical. So I love the idea of what I saw yesterday from Stüver. So if it's relevant for you, you can probably look up, and maybe it's interesting for some of the people here.
Yeah, please share in the chat. I guess in general, this is one of those rather novel steps in the whole supply chain that has been built around single-use packaging that reusables needs to tackle, which is, you know, the collection rate of used reusable packaging in terms of hygiene. It also, of course, creates an environmental impact if you would have return devices that are cooled. So these kind of considerations are rather new, and also we need to think of ways to make this more efficient, to reduce environmental impact and costs naturally. One of the questions is, let's see. Yeah, there was actually quite a few questions via Planner Reuse chat, which is a reminder to everybody that beyond this particular webinar and the Q&A we do here, Planner Reuse offers the forum where lots of questions can be asked, and it gives more option for people to respond possibly. What are the questions? What are the pros and cons of each cleaning method? This might be a bit too elaborate to cover everything here now with 6 minutes remaining in the Q&A. So up front, I can probably tell that we will not be able to answer every question that I see in the question. One from Stavi Franco, however, is there a test or check to ensure microplastics do not tear off in the washing process? One of those potential concerns, not only for reusables, obviously, but for single-use plastics as well. Microplastics.
Christian, do you already have stuff like that in place? I think there are tests for that, but this goes over my knowledge. So
we as well. Do not have the answer for that.
Yes, interestingly enough, I get the feeling sometimes in these discussions, not here today, but in general around reuse, that some of the challenges being presented to reusable packaging are not necessarily different for single-use packaging, microplastics in this case, or even my washing machine at home for clothes that have so many plastic fibers in it. So unless, you know, I personally installed like a filter, but many people do not. So just saying, I don't think we as a reusable sector should avoid the discussion on microplastics, but ideally, you know, tackle this together with single use and reuse together. A valid question nonetheless.
But if people know, I think I read that people know about that. Maybe you can share that on Planet Reuse too, because I think it's interesting for the network just to share that there's your solution. You can also share it with your washing and cleaning partner, just to see that the professionals integrate that in their cleaning processes. Might might be valuable. So
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. I mean, again, this is not a webinar where we claim to know everything.
Yeah.
It's just addressing and sharing the knowledge we have, the questions we have. I think somebody in the chat from Eternity System says we are already working with visual inspection systems. So this really is also just a starting point and an invitation to share knowledge either directly or through planner reuse. And so I'm quite happy with the answers and the questions in the chat. Trying to scan through the many comments with questions we have not perhaps addressed, or which ones I should. Let's see. A question to Christian from Simon Hintz. Do the Hobart machines work with heat exchangers for efficiency? See the heat profile and then CO2 output related to it is a topic.
Yes, definitely, especially at these times. Heat exchanger, for example, there are exhaust air exchanger as well as drain heat exchanger. So use the drain water or use the exhaust air to warm up the incoming water, so to save energy. But there are different systems in the market. Yes.
Fair enough. So one of the things where on one hand you'd think washing machines have been around for ages, so we probably have the most efficient ones already in terms of energy. I do feel though that we're also there, definitely not at the end of optimizing. Quick question. I said quick. It's not that quick in the end. It's Nathan Dufour from Zero Waste Europe, who not only thanks you both for the presentations, but is flagging the importance of not limiting the topic of safety of reusable food packaging to hygiene. Consider also other issues linked to hazardous chemicals and migration risks. Microplastics, I think we mentioned. So this is perhaps more pointing out that there are other things to consider.
Yeah, maybe there's just one point for the audience. We try to look at the cradle to cradle concept a lot, and there's, for example, a banned list of chemicals when you look the cradle to cradle standard, and this is something that we, for example, take into account if we produce a product and choose the right material, is to check not if it's just food safe, but also we avoid all the chemicals on the banned list of chemicals regarding cradle to cradle standards. So I would say everyone should check this out. It's super interesting, and it helps to keep it safe, also in other dimensions.
Yeah, it's a fair point from Nathan from Zero Waste Europe, and linking to a question from Sebastian Althoff to Jan. Whether or not you have data on migration of substances from plastic packaging into the food. So this is not the cleaning of the food itself, I guess, but this is more the packaging and whether or not there's an impact of repeated washing on migration, and whether it is more or in fact less. And one of the things I remember from my past, when we bought a new bread thingy from plastics, we would also wash it a few times first, or so suggesting that perhaps plastic packaging should be washed first, and that the risk then reduces. That was the suggestion there. So just wondering whether migration is something that you've have some thoughts on.
What we see is, I don't know how it works in all the different countries in Europe that we have on the table right now, is that the laws are a little bit more strict now. If you put a reusable packaging into the market, it's not just the normal migration test you have to do before at the laboratory to check if it's food safe, but you have to, I don't have to rule 100% on the table, but it's kind of, you have to do the migration test 3 times in a row, and they have these chemicals to test what migrates out of the plastic packaging, and they do it several times, and the results are not allowed to get worse, because this would give a hint that your product will get worse in the several times regarding the migration. So the tests you have to do got more strict, which is really good. And also there's an additional test where they also check the like kind of the smell of a product. If you put like water in it and you let it stay there in the plastic packaging, is there change of smell and stuff like that. So there's several tests popping up right now. Some are mandatory already to check what happens if you use your reusable several times. And this is what we do actually to be safe in this point of view, but we don't check like when we get back in product which is taken out of the market because it's too damaged or stuff like that. We didn't do an additional migration test at end of life now, but probably it would make sense just for checking if there's a change.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jan. And I think most of us would have plenty of other questions and things we'd like to know. However, we are moving towards the end of the session. There's one of the questions while scanning through both the discussion in the chat, but also the questions would be around the removal of labels and additional items added to a packaging. So I would give you both, let's say, a half a minute to address this and then give a bit of something to think about and further discussions before we slowly move to a bit less slow towards the end of today's session. Christian?
Pardon, sorry. There was
Regarding
specifically around the removal of not so much food product remaining, but the specifically added items like labels, I don't know, maybe identity tags, things like this.
didn't get it, sorry. Wait a second. Stop my video. Wait a second.
Maybe in the meanwhile, Jan, you might have
maybe I repeat it and then Christian gets it, because I cannot say so much about that because we only currently with our project we only have permanent labels on it sometimes, and of course you have to check which kind of permanent label. Same with a banned list of chemicals and stuff like that, and you have to check if your permanent label really stays on the product for your 100, 200, 300 cycles. That's what we do. But of course, there are some reuse systems where you have washable labels because like pre-packed food and stuff like that. And the question was, if you put it to washing, how do you erase this label and to have a good process? Maybe Christian can elaborate on that. I think it's a very specific process, and I know there are some challenges on that, but people do pretty well, so I cannot answer that in detail. But if anyone needs tips regarding permanent labels, I'd be happy to share that on Planet Reuse.
Yep. Thank you so much, Jan. I think that would be the conclusion for today. It seems that Michael's either Wi-Fi popped out or something happened to the battery or whatnot. Good thing is, I guess on one hand, we are at the end of our webinar, in which I would like to thank both of our speakers, Jan of Crafting Future and Christian of Hobart, who I will quickly allow into the session again. Many good tips actually in the chat while scanning through. Thanks to all actively contributing there. Quite a lot of things being mentioned.
Hello.
Today's session is being recorded, so you might to a certain extent see if you can follow some of those discussions, but ideally I would say let's continue sharing this information, learnings, build on what we've learned all together to move forward quicker and more efficiently. And Planet Reuse is glad to be of service and to facilitate these discussions. We will share with everybody that was in this session, and the ones that did not manage to join, we will share a link to the right forum channels and also the link to where you can follow this webinar. So thanks so much. But before we conclude, there's a quick question on what did you think of today's session? To what extent is this adding value to you? Please rate very simply with the scale of 0 to 10. And a second question, perhaps any suggestions on other topics that you'd like to do a Q&A with experts on information that you would like to know, that you think others should need to know, then you might even come forward and say that, hey, I have some very interesting expertise that I feel the reuse community could benefit from. So with that, please quickly do our survey. I think 10 out of 10 people already did, so thank you for that. So with this, I would like to thank everybody, but particularly the speakers, and we hope that today's session was adding value for everybody. And thank you for critical and supportive questions and all the learnings that you've been sharing. Look forward to seeing you at Planet Reuse and out there.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Hope you
Marcel.
can hear me. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, we heard you. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. And we give you some time, some minutes to answer the 2 questions. This is very helpful for us to continue the work on planet reuse. Thank you, everyone.